Marcus Aurelius is one of the most famous and well-known Stoic philosophers of all time. He was a Roman emperor from 161 to 180 after Christ, and he was the last ruler from a line later known as the Five Good Emperors. He was in one of the highest positions of power in the world at the time, and would have access to the realization of all his temptations and desires, should you wish for them. But instead, he dedicated his life to fairness and justice during his rule. Aurelius found the time to construct a series of autobiographical writings now known as the Meditations, which has become one of the most important texts within Stoic philosophy. In the Meditations Are Really Us, describes guides on how to improve oneself. These will mostly focus on taking a cosmic perspective and critically analyzing your judgment on yourself and others. As a leader of a powerful empire that experienced multiple was during his rule, Aurelius used his own Stoic philosophy to let go of stress and worries and to be the very best and reliable leader. Stoicism is an ancient and incredibly famous philosophy that, aside from a theory, is also a truly inspiring way of thinking and living. The Stoics strongly believed that doing the right thing was the key to individual happiness, and that, in order to do the right thing, sound judgment and clear rational thinking was necessary. So with that in mind, in this video, we will talk about how you can develop a rational mind through 5 important lessons that can help you think more clearly from the teachings of Marcus Aurelius. Before we continue, check your channel subscription. It is very important that you are subscribed. Click Be a Member to support us and encourage us to make more videos. Everything is interwoven, and the web is holy. None of its parts are unconnected. They are composed harmoniously. Lesson 1: Train your perception. Marcus Aurelius says, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." One of the greatest lessons of Stoicism to take control of your perception. We're used to judging everything we come across, any event we experience, any people we meet. Sights, we see all of them, get a value judgment. Something was either bad, good, boring, fun, beautiful, ugly, etc. This is, unbeknownst to us, a very exhausting practice, and also one that might affect our lives for the worse. It is not the actual event that makes you feel bad, but rather the way you unconsciously choose to think about it. The Stoics, in contrast, encourage people to be careful to judge everything you come across and the things that you do. And one of the ways to be careful is to undo your judgments, which essentially means to look past them, to be able to forget your first instinct and to judge something through a more optimistic and reasonable lens. You can try to reframe that boring party in your mind as an event where you got to see a new place and meet some new people. Okay, afterwards you might note that you didn't really resonate with anyone, but you didn't go in with the expectation of negativity as such. Practicing not to judge everything based on your first instinct and emotion is the very best way to start training your perception on life. Whenever you think about anything in an opinionated way, try to ask yourself, is this rational? One of the most important convictions is the Stoic worldview. They believe that the world is organized rationally and coherently. More specifically, the all-pervading force called Logos rules the world and constantly strives to achieve its goal. Logos is the absolute power that connects two worlds, individuals and the universe as a whole. So, humans shouldn't be focused on external circumstances, but instead shift their perspective and primary focus on what they can control. What they can control is the mind, not the outside world. All events are determined by the Logos and follow an unbreakable chain of cause and effect. Aurelius was deeply convinced that Stoic philosophy shows that human life, despite its apparent vanity, has a very definite sense, and all the hurtful events and changes in the world constitute a one uniform process that realizes a greater goal. Aurelius painted a new, shining example of a man who lives in accordance with nature and reason, because he knows that it frees him from sorrows, vanity, uncertainty, and fears. In short, he lives in harmony, walks on the road, and accepts what the universe is about, heads or tails. All the events can't hurt us because that would be contrary to the views on the rationality and purposefulness of Logos, which rules the world. Nature itself excludes events that man wouldn't be able to cope with. A man should throw away the fears of challenges because all the hardships are unnatural. To a being with Logos, an unnatural action is one that conflicts with the Logos. A similar approach is offered by Christian ethics, justifying the conflict that God is merciful, But on the other side, some of our experiences are sorrowful and painful. Christians believe that each of us has a cross that has to bear, but God wouldn't send us a burden that we couldn't bear. The common ground between Aurelius's Stoicism and the Christian faith is that humans' goal is to work on how to react to the events and lay all the trust in the universe. Therefore, you should be focused on your mind because you have power over it, and you should leave the external events since they happen because they have to fulfill the greater mission. This is how Logos manifests itself. The events don't even think about you, and they shouldn't be perceived in moral terms as bad or good because there always is a greater mission behind them that we don't see. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. Meditations Book 7. Aurelius believed in the driving force of thoughts. He was clear that thoughts, both from an individual and a general perspective, influence the shape of the world. Following Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius was deeply convinced of the purposefulness and the rationality of the universe. But what reveals that the rational side of the universe is so-called pneuma, a divine force that permeates everything. Therefore, he believed that everything is linked, particularly highlighting the connection between a man and the universe. But what turns out to be more important in terms of the quality of the thoughts is the close connection within a man itself. According to the emperor philosopher, humans are linked not only to the universe but also within themselves. Mind and thoughts are tied and manifest in the quality of our lives. So he was convinced that it is better to have more positive thoughts than the opposite. Aurelius thought that each human creates a small world, the own microcosmos by ideas and thoughts. Therefore, each human is capable of controlling his thoughts but also using them in a highly productive way. It's time you realized that you have something in you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you dance like a puppet. What's in my thoughts at this moment? Fear, jealousy, desire, feelings like that. By following the thoughts of the Stoic philosopher, we can also conclude that the quality of life is independent of external factors. In Meditations, he stated that anywhere you can lead a good life because what speaks to the quality